Hi, I'm Kayla,
I'm Tiana.
And I'm Devin.
and this is our podcast on She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron.
Attention Peterson students, pay attention to the boxes that pop up for they'll help you with the quiz later on. The poet Lord Byron, also known as George Gordon Byron, was born in 1788 and was one of the most important figures of the Romantic movement. Because of his works, he was considered the perfect image of the Romantic poet hero.
She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace, which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens over her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and over that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent.
Who is the speaker and what kind of person is he or she?
The speaker is a male and admirer, perhaps Byron himself. The point of view is from third person omniscient.
Who is the audience?
The poem speaks to the general audience.
What is the situation?
The situation is a man describing a woman's physical beauty by comparing her to lots of beautiful things, like the night, starry skies. The second stanza uses contrasting images such as day and night, light and dark, to describe her beauty. The third stanza describes her inner thoughts and purity by stating that her mind is at peace and her heart whose love is innocent.
What is the setting in time, place, era?
The poem doesn't actually describe a setting, but we assume that it takes place on a clear and starry night.
What is the central purpose of the poem?
The central purpose of the poem is to describe the woman's beauty and elegance simply.
Discuss the diction of the poem.
The diction in this poem is a mix of casual and elevated. In the first line, she walks in beauty like the night, is very casual as to describe the walk the girl is taking. In line 5 of the poem, the vocabulary becomes more educated, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. This is describing her inner aspects, both dark and bright, that are seen through her eyes. Because the line is written with higher vocabulary, it is saying that her inner self has a higher meaning.
Discuss the syntax of this poem.
Sentence structure we found was enjambment. When the poem opens with a line that doesn't have punctuation, it runs over to the next.
Discuss the tone of the poem.
The tone of the poem is awestruck or complimentary to the woman.
Discuss the shift of the poem.
There is a shift in line 4 of the poem, meet in her aspects and in her eyes. It has a different kind of meter. Instead of starting with an unstressed syllable, it starts with a stressed one. Byron and other poets use this, together with enjambment, to draw attention to certain words. In this case, the word meet is emphasized. It is an important word in the poem because it is the premise of the entire poem. Opposites meet in this woman, just as enjambment and change in meter are joined in this poem. The unlikely pair of darkness and light meet in this woman.
Discuss the imagery of the poem.
Byron uses a simile to compare the beauty of the woman to the night. He suggests that it's the harmony of two contrasting opposites, like night and day or light and dark, that make the woman really beautiful. In Byron's day, conventional English beauties were considered to be blonde and pale. So for him to write a poem that not only praises the beauty of a woman with raven or black hair, but even goes as far as to say the real beauty requires a contrast of light and dark or day and night was pretty shocking. The speaker emphasizes the nameless grace that shows the woman's grace she possesses from the dark features that serve to enhance her beauty. In addition, in line 5, Byron mixes visual and kinesthetic imagery with the expression tender light to describe the speaker actually feeling the woman's beauty, not just seeing it. Note also that Byron says that if this darkness and lightness would be ruined with the right proportions, one shade the more, one ray the less, her beauty wouldn't be completely ruined as you might expect. He says that she would only be half impaired and thus still be half magnificent.
Point out and explain examples of paradox, overstatement, understatement, irony, onomatopoeia, oxymoron, alliteration, metaphor, simile, and personification.
In lines 1 and 2, there is a simile, which is comparing the movement of the beautiful woman to beautiful skies. In line 6, there is a metonym in which heaven is substituted for God. In lines 11 and 12, there's metaphor and personification, comparing thoughts to people and comparing her mind to a dwelling place.
Point out and explain any allusions.
There is one allusion in the opening simile that is a reference to Shakespeare's Sonnet 18, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" Byron reverses it by comparing her to the night. Byron was associated with the Romanticism movement against 18th century obsession with order. There are several romantic characteristics within Byron's poem. For example, Romanticism stressed strong emotion as a source of aesthetic experience, and this is something that is clearly present in the poem. The poem is a bridge Byron created to transmit the reader of intense feeling he experienced when he first saw the woman he is describing. This way, he achieves to explain this aesthetic experience by using words and rhetorical figures as comparison. Another example of Romanticism is the inclination to talk about nature in his poem. This is also present in the poem, where the author is constantly making reference to natural elements in order to describe better what he felt and how he met the woman he is talking about. Some examples of these elements are night of cloudless climes, starry skies, shade, ray, raven tress. Finally, another characteristic of the Romanticism that I think can also be found in the poem would be medievalism. In the Middle Ages, there was an inclination in literature to put emphasis on women qualities. This is exactly what Byron is trying to do in his poem. He is emphasizing the qualities of a woman and what he felt when she was before him.
The theme in the poem, She Walks in Beauty, is that two conflicting elements can work in harmony to create something truly beautiful. The speaker uses this theme to describe a woman whose opposite yet complementary features give her both spiritual and physical beauty.